Hey guys, what's going on? Matt here, and welcome back to the Black Ops 3 Mod Tools scripting series. This video we're going to be putting into the map a damage trigger. What this is going to do is when you shoot at the trigger, it's going to give us, in this case, a random perk. So obviously you can do kind of, whatever you want, but in this example we're going to do a shootable perk bottle. So a golden perk ball that if you shoot at it, it'll give you a random perk. I do have a golden perk bottle already set up. You probably won't have that, but you can put, like a juggernaut bottle in there, whatever you want. But that's going to be the example of this video. So to begin with, of course, we need to actually go and set up the script to begin with. So if we go over to our Black Ops 3 route, we can go over to user maps, go to our map name, go to scripts, ZM, and open up our map name.gsc. Just move that over. Awesome. So let's actually just set up the function for this. Very similar to the last video where we did a use trigger. A lot of this will be fairly similar, just with a little bit extra added on. So we'll do a level thread. So we'll thread the function and we'll do, give player perk. Like so. And then down here, we'll make the new function. So function give player perk. There we go. When I do 2 forward slashes, this is a comment. So you'll see it up here used. Now what a comment is you can basically put information in your script which will not get run as code. It's basically a note, so you can leave yourself a note. Now you can do single line comments, so you can just do this is a comment. But if you wanted to do multi-line ones, you don't necessarily have to do another double forward slash. What you can do instead is you can do forward slash and asterisk, and then close it with a asterisk and forward slash. So basically the inverse, and anything between these two will be a comment. So you can do line 1, line 2, and then if you were to continue after here, so if I was to just do line 3, you can see it now turns white. So that means it's going back to actual code. Everything in grey is going to be not interpreted, just a note. So as we sort of build up these scripts, it might be useful for you to sort of start adding comments just so you know what things are doing. In this instance, it's probably not really needed because it's going to be quite a simple script anyway. But when we do sort of progress, it's something I would kind of want to touch on now anyway. So I'm just going to remove all this up because that isn't really needed. I didn't want to do too much on in the first video. That was all. So let's actually start to implement this now. So the first things we need to do is, of course, put in the damage trigger into the map. So we'll go ahead and open up Radiant. Whilst that's opening, I'm just going to start typing out trig equals basically the same way we did the use trigger. Cool. So let's set this up. I realize I only did a very small amount in here. So let's go ahead and let's put in a table, and we'll put a perk bottle on the table. So just do table. Obviously you don't need to be doing this. This is just, so it's a bit of a better example. Put that there. And in this case, I'm just going to use a perk bottle that I've already got. You can really do anything you want though. Just a bottle, and I'll stick a golden perk bottle in. There we go. Obviously these are only examples of the main bit of it is really the code, I guess. So we've got the perk bottle in. Now because I did mention that I wanted to do it where you shoot at a trigger, the perk bottle disappears, we of course need to make sure that we can interact with this. And all I'm going to do is change this into a script model. So just type in script. So just go up here to remap class in your entity info, remap this to a script model. There we go. And this means now that we have target name that we can use. So I'm just going to put, actually I'm going to leave that blank actually. We don't need to put anything in there. I'll show you why in a second. So if we just press escape just to deselect that. What I now need is of course the actual trigger, which is kind of the main thing about this video. So we're going to go down here to entity browser, and I'm going to go to trigger, and now we've got this damage you can see. So I'm going to select damage, drag that over, and I'm just going to put this so it sort of covers the bottle but not more, just because it doesn't really make any sense to be shooting anywhere other than the bottle for it to do something. So what I'm going to do is just move this over to the side slightly, just so we can still select the bottle. And we'll go over into entity info, and you'll see it looks a little bit different than the last trigger that we used, which was a use trigger. So as I say, this is going to be where you cause damage to it in some way, and then that is what triggers it. So you can see we've got the usual target name, which I'm just going to give it a target name of, I guess, GIF player perk or something. So following everything I said in the last video, don't be putting spaces in or anything like that. Just, keep a name that you're going to remember. So I'm just going to copy this. And what I'm going to do is, because we now have a damage trigger with a target name, we do need to do a little bit more to this potentially, but for now, let's just go and put this into the script. So we're going to do get ent. So trig equals get ent. You didn't really need to put trig before time. I just thought Radiant would have taken a bit longer to load, really. Really, it's the same as a use trigger in this case. So we're going to do the target name, paste that in, followed by target name. So we're going to grab a trigger which has this target name, like that. And of course, this is going to be this trigger. Now, we're not actually going to change any of this, but I do want to mention that these are options. So you can see we have things like explosion, no. Fire, no. These are basically what's going to be triggering this. So if you wanted the trigger to, let's say, only be activated by, let's say, throwing a grenade, you probably want to disable absolutely everything. So check every single box apart from maybe explosion. That's probably going to be what you want for that. Maybe you want it to be activated but not via like splash damage, so you need like a direct hit. Then you probably want to be checking this box. So you really can customize this to however you want. It's depending on what you want. In this case, I just want to cause damage to it and then give myself a perk. So I'm going to keep it all as it is. The important one is this. So I'm going to keep this as it is, just so we don't get ahead of ourselves too much. I'm now going to go back to the script. And after trig, we now want to, of course, wait for it to be activated. Because this is a damage trigger, we don't need like a hint string or any sort of text. It's effectively going to just be invisible until you cause damage to it in this case. So I'm just going to do trig, wait till, trigger, and then just put the player in. So pretty much the same as what we did in the last one, where we gave ourselves a weapon. Very, very little difference. There's just, I guess, a little bit less to do. So the next bit though, we need to actually give the player a weapon. So we're going to go player. So at this point, we've triggered the trigger. Now the player needs to be given something. So we're going to do player. And this now is where things get a little bit different. We can't just type out GIF perk, at least I don't believe we can. We now actually need to use another file. Now, if you go over into your Black Ops 3 route, go over to share, raw, scripts and ZM. We've got a bunch of scripts in here. Now, I want to use a function which happens to be in the perks file, which is give random perk. It already exists. As you kind of start to make more scripts, you'll start to sort of know where there's a few functions already existing. If you kind of want to do something and you think this must already be something like, give a random perk, give a specific perk, that's already functionality in, regular maps, when you go up to a perk machine. So you don't actually need to script the entire thing yourself. You can just reuse what's already there. There's really no point to reinvent everything. So I'm just going to scroll down to where we've got ZM perks. So all of these will all be pretty much custom for the specific perk, but the ZM perks.gsc is kind of the more general perk GSC file. So if we open up this, if I just go search for it just to make it a bit easier, I'm just going to do, I think it is give random perk, I believe. Yeah, perfect. So we got give random perk, and this is literally just going to give the player a random perk. Now, because we, of course, don't have this code in this file, we kind of want to reuse it. What we now need to be careful of is, do we have access to this file in here? So the way you check this, sometimes you will have it, like, we have a bunch of these sort of using statements, hashtag usings. This is basically just bringing in that script file. So the ZM perks, if I have a quick look through here, I have already checked ahead of time, but we don't actually have this. This, obviously I've set this up to include this step on purpose, but we actually now need to import this pretty much. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do hashtag using. It can really be anywhere up here as well. You don't have to put it exactly where I'm doing it. I just like to kind of group things a little bit better. And all we're going to do is the path to this. So it lives in, you can see up here, it lives in share raw scripts. We just don't mention the share raw part. So we're going to start at scripts, as you can see with the examples above. If you was to go, let's say find the zone manager, or zone MGR, zone manager, you would find that in here. So what we're going to do is do scripts /ZM /ZM _ and then it was perks, like so. And what that's going to do is it's now going to basically reference this file and say, we can now use everything within this file. That's all that is doing. So now if we scroll back down to our function, what we now can do is do ZM perks. Notice here though, we're not using the underscore up here. We're not using the underscore at the start. And the reason for doing that is, so I'm pretty sure we can remember the function name here. The reason why we're not doing that is up here, we have hashtag namespace. And what this is doing is once you've imported this script, we can now basically know it by this name. So if it has a namespace at the top, then every time we now use this in another script, we can just kind of use this as like an alias. Okay, we can just use this name instead. That's basically what it's doing. So we can use ZM perks, which is what the namespace is. Next, what we need to do is do 2 semicolons. Colons? I always forget the name between them. Do 2 of them. And this will be the function name. So we had give _ random _ perk. Like so. Do the 2 brackets and then the semicolon at the end. So yeah, colon, semicolon. I've never been able to remember the difference between them when I'm recording videos. So do that. And if we just go back down to here, you can see we've got give random perk. It doesn't take any parameters, so we just call it as it is, and it's going to give the player a random perk. Easy as that. So next what we need to do is, of course, remove the trigger. Because we've done what we need, we can now remove the trigger. Now there's one last step to this. So we've imported this script file. We're using one of its functions. So for most purposes, this could be considered done. You're going to shoot the trigger, and it's going to give you a random perk. But we wanted to remove the perk bottle because if you shoot it and it stays there, even though you've been given your perk, it kind of makes you think you can do it again. So next what we need to do is actually delete this bottle. Now the reason why we made it a script model to begin with is so we can interact with it. So all I'm going to do, really, really simple, I'm going to select the trigger and select the bottle and press W. Easy as that. Now you can do this manually if you want. I'm going to show you what this has done. This is just way easier. So if you select the trigger, you can see it's now put a target on here as auto 1. Now, if you were doing this manually, you would simply go down here, click add KVP, type in, well, I'll show you. You type in target, you type in the value, which in this case is just auto 1, but of course you'd probably name it something different if you're doing it yourself. And then if we go over to the bottle, you can see it's now got a target name of auto 1. Now in this case, auto 1 is basically just was literally automatically linking it. So if you were to do it to something else, you'd have auto 2, stuff like that. If you were to do this manually, of course, you'd probably want to type something a bit more, manual in, I guess. So I don't know, maybe like perk bottle, I don't know. But this is basically just doing it so it's a bit more automatic for us. So it's making this trigger. When we activate it, we can actually use this target to reference this bottle, which is the target name as auto 1. So if we go back to the script what I can now do is go ahead and delete the bottle, because now we have a reference to it from the trigger. So what we're going to do is we're going to go just after the wait till. Actually, we'll do it after this because we can do it all ahead of time. We don't need to wait until it's been shot. So I'm going to do bottle equals get ent, and the reason why I've done it on the trigger is let's just put the target name in just to make it a bit more obvious what I'm doing. There we go. Now, what I absolutely could do is I could have put a target name on the bottle individually. I could have treated them completely separately, put a target name on the bottle, and put that target name into here. That would have been completely fine. But because these two things are pretty much tied together, like one doesn't really work without the other, what we can actually do is we can actually grab the bottle's name from the trigger. So doing things like this just makes things a little bit easier for us. So instead of typing in the name, we know the trigger has the bottle's target name. So we can do trig dot target. So if I show here, we've got the trigger, and we can use dot target. So this is going to be the KVP, so trig dot target, and it's going to give us auto 1. And the bottle has the target name of auto 1. So we're grabbing the bottle's target name from the trigger. So hopefully that wasn't too complicated to sort of understand. It's really good practice so to be doing stuff like this, just because it makes things a lot easier to work with later on. As I say, if you do prefer to put something more manual in here, feel free, but you know, kind of starting to do things a bit easier if we can. So now we've got the bottle, we can now do something with this bottle, and in this case we just want to be deleting it. So once we've shot the trigger, it's been activated, we can now just go ahead and just delete the bottle. It really just needs to be somewhere after this wait till. That's really it. So I'm going to do bottle delete like that. And now this is literally done. So what we can do is we can go in game in a moment. I'm just going to quickly save this. We don't need this anymore either. It's going to wait until we've shot the trigger. It's going to use the bottle that we've already sort of referenced via the trigger. It's going to delete the bottle. It's going to give the player who shot the trigger a random perk, and it's going to then delete the trigger. And that's that. So go into Radiant. I'm just going to put this trigger over the bottle. I kept them separate just so we could still sort of select each one. You will note as well that you can see we've got like a line connecting them. That's just so you know they're linked properly. If you were to do it manually, or you know, the way I showed by pressing W, it's the same result. One's just a little bit easier. So exit, just save the map. I'm going to close down this. I'm going to go over to my launcher. I'm going to go ahead and do a full compile. And then once this is compiled, we will jump into game and I'll show you guys this all working. So I'll see you guys over in game once I've let it build. Okay, so over in game, let's go over to the perk bottle. And when I shoot this, it should be deleting the perk bottle, and then it should be giving us a random perk. So if I go ahead and shoot the perk bottle, so we've just been given dead shot. If I then shoot the area again, because it does nothing, there is no trigger there. And that is that. Fairly simple script, but you know, involving a few more different sort of things like a damage trigger and whatnot. Of course, any questions you have, please leave them in the comments. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye for now.